All right, welcome everybody to our second week of online learning. We're as the weeks go on, we'll try and get better and more efficient of how we're using our communications and everything. So what I'm going to start doing the second week on is making videos for our remote learners and also for students that go home and want to kind of brush up on what we've done on the important topics that we cover in our math class. So what I'm going to do is cover some important questions that we really want to focus on with our independent practice. So for number one, we look at each ratio as a fraction in simplest form, then explain its meaning. So the big clue we want to look at is flutes to drums. So flutes is going to be first. So we're going to have flutes over drums. All right, and so what we can do is we can count that up, and we see that we have 4 flutes over 2 drums. And what we're doing here with these ratios is we're simplifying our ratios. In other words, we're taking our fractions and putting our fractions in lowest terms. All right, so what we can do is find out a common divisor, or a number that we can divide the top and the bottom from. And if we look at these two numbers, we can see that if we divide both of these by 2, then I will end up with 2 over 1. And that would be our ratio in simplest form. Same thing with number 2. If we look at number 2, we want to look at what is the first word in our ratio, and the first word is sandwiches. So when we set up number 2, we're going to want to have sandwiches, and I'm going to abbreviate sandwiches, over our milk. All right, so what we'll do here is you want to sit and you want to count up. Well, it looks like we have 4 sandwiches. And it looks like that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cartons of milk. Oops. Again, we want to do the same thing and divide these fractions. We want to divide these fractions by a common term. And looking back what we did last week when we were looking at GCF and LCMs, you can actually use the GCF to shrink your fractions to the lowest term possible. So I'm going to do 4 divided by a 2 and 10 divided by a 2 because that's their GCF. And we end up with 2 over 5. And that is our simplified fraction. All right. So now looking at number 3, we have a class has 6 boys and 15 girls. What is the ratio of boys to girls? Again, the first word is what's going to tell us what our numerator is. So for number 3, we need boys for our numerator and girls for our denominator. Okay, and we look at it, we have 6 boys over 15 girls. So we need to find the GCF of 6 and 15, and that's what we worked on last week. And when we find that GCF, we divide the numerator and denominator by that. So this case, the GCF is going to be 3. So I have 6 divided by 3 as 2, and 15 divided by 3 as 5. All right. So our fraction in lowest terms for boys and girls would be 2 over 5. Okay, number 4. The table shows the number of books Salvador has read. Find the ratio of mystery books to the total. All right, so we're looking at mystery books. So mystery books is going to be our numerator. All right, so what we need to do is we need to go through and we need to add up all of the books that we have. So if we have 10 plus 7 plus 5 plus 2, we have a total of 24 books. So 24 is going to be our denominator. So number 4 we're looking at the ratio or fraction of 10 over 24. Okay? Now, as far as this goes, 10 and 24 don't really have too many factors in common. So their GCF is going to be a 2. So we'll divide the numerator and denominator by 2, and we end up with 5 over 12 for number 4. Okay? Now, number 5, we're looking at dividing 33 photos into 2 groups. So the ratio is 4 to 7. So with that being said, what we're going to need to do is look at our ratio of 4 to 7. So we're going to have, let me switch colors here. So we can draw this out, and if we want, we can draw 4 boxes. All right, and that's my 4. And then I need it to 7 boxes. Okay, and there are my 7 boxes. Some of these, the computer I'm using is going to square them off. Some of them it doesn't. But anyhow, we have 33 photos total. All right, now what we need to do is count how many boxes are in our ratio. And we have 11 boxes. All right, so what I need to do is take my 33 and divide that by the amount of boxes, which is 11. And what that is going to give us a 3. So each box is going to have 3 photos. And what we can do now is, if you want, we can add up our numbers. So the first row, we have 4 boxes of 3, and that gives me 12. And in the bottom, I have 7 boxes of 3, which gives me 28. Now, what we can do is find the GCF of 12 and 28 and divide our ratio to put it in simplest terms. And when we do that, we end up using a GCF of 4. And we do 12 divided by 4, we end up with 3. And we do 28 divided by 4, we end up with 7 as our lowest ratio. Okay, number 8 on the opposite side of our first page, we're looking at page 24 for our independent practice. And this is a way for us to model and kind of draw out different things and able to represent a ratio of 3 to 1. So it says here to create 3 different drawings showing a number of rectangles and circles, in which the ratio of rectangles to circles is 3 to 1. So let's just go ahead and start with the first one, and they just want 3 to 1. And remember, it's rectangles to circles. So the rectangles is going to take the first. So we're working with 3 to 1 for our ratio. So let's just draw 3 rectangles and 1 circle. Okay? And there's our first section. Now the way to do this is we can multiply our ratio of 3 to 1 by a common factor. So if we multiply both of these by 2, I now have a ratio of 6 to 2. All right, and that would be another way we could represent this. So we would actually have 6 rectangles and we would have 2 circles, because those are equivalent fractions. We can do the same thing. We're going to go back to our ratio of 3 to 1. I'm going to draw a line here and separate this. We can do the same thing, and we're going to multiply now by a common factor of 3 on both of them. So now we end up with a ratio of 9 to 3. And we'll just repeat the same thing. We'll draw 9 rectangles. Sorry for my drawings. It's hard drawing with a tablet and a pen. Let me clean that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now we have 9 rectangles and we need 3 circles. All right, and that is how we can model with mathematics and create 3 different drawings to show the number of rectangles and circles. And what that was from one of your vocabulary words, and that was equivalent fractions.